Filmspringa!
Hey, Brynne, have you seen Steel Magnolias?
Oh my god, yes, I love that movie.
Jonsey, you've seen it, right?
Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
You've seen Dracula, right?
Oh, I love that movie. It's so good.
Lena, you've seen it.
What do you think? Filmspringa!
Hey, Brynne, have you seen Weekend at Bernie's?
Oh my god, Weekend at Bernie's saved my life.
Jonsey, you have to have seen it.
Oh my god, no, I haven't. Of course not. You've seen Nightmare on Elm Street. It's the best.
That movie scared the out of me when I was a
Lena,
kid.
did it scare the out of you? I have not seen that one, and I will be praying for all of your souls. It's your Filmspringa, Lena.
Hasn't seen it.
It's showtime!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Filmspringa, the podcast about all of your favorite films and your sheltered friend who's never seen them. I am Tony. I'm here with...
I'm Brynne.
And the sheltered friend.
Our sheltered friend.
Hi guys, I'm Lena.
Yes.
Jonsey, whatever.
We're back for another week. And this week, the film we are covering is a Thanksgiving staple that a lot of people have seen and watch every year. It's the 1980-70 comedy Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
So
That's
good,
today's
John
show.
Hughes.
Yeah, John Hughes. But before we get into the film, we have some really quick housekeeping stuff to take care of before we get into the meat of the episode. Filmspringa has its own YouTube channel. We are not going to be hosted on Who Invited Her's channel anymore. So next week, you guys, if you want to tune into the live show of the podcast, you can go to Filmspringa on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe, hit that notification button, and all of that good stuff so you can join us and watch the show live and talk about the movie with us.
Yeah, we're leaving the nest.
Yes, we're leaving the nest, the mothership. We're going out on our own.
Thank you for hosting us for so long,
Yeah.
Who Invited
Thank
Her.
you, Who
We
Invited
love
Her.
you, big brother, sister.
Oh, and we're
Big
also on, now we're on
finger
iHeartRadio, so you can subscribe there, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, the podcast is there. So tell your friends to subscribe and all of that. But this week, it's going to be an interesting topic on this movie because I know we all have different feelings about planes, trains, and automobiles.
That's not good.
But before we get into our opinions of the film, shall we watch the trailer to get everybody in the
Please.
mood? Let's do that, yeah?
A little amuse-bouche.
There we go.
During holiday travel, some people get delirious. Some get delayed. And some get Del Griffin.
American Light and Fixture, Director of Sales, Shower Curtain Ring Division.
Neil Page got all three.
I was on my way home to spend a nice holiday with my family. Instead, I'm in a motel bed with a stranger.
So instead of Thanksgiving with his family, he's spending 3 days with the turkey.
Two happy clams just whistling down the road.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're the Marconi family.
Paramount Pictures presents
Wilma!
Steve Martin,
You ever been to Hawaii?
Yeah.
You see Don Ho while you were there?
See the second show. That's the best one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
John Candy,
Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
in a new film by John Hughes. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
See that Bears game last week? Yeah, hell of a game, hell of a game.
Oh man, this film. I have very different thoughts about this film.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear them.
Yeah, let's get into it's a very basic plot. Let's get into that first. So it's about two characters, Neil and Del, who are trying to make it home to Thanksgiving in Chicago, and everything under the sun happens not to get him there. So this film's kind of it's a road film and a buddy film is what it is.
Classic buddy film.
Yeah, directed by John Hughes, and this is his first film outside of the teen angsty John Hughesy type of films,
How did it do being his breakaway?
It did very
like,
well.
His first rated R movie, I have to assume.
Yeah, it did very well in the box office, and the critics loved it. What is the really famous ones? Esker and Nebel, whatever their names are.
Oh my god.
Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel and Ebert. So Ebert said, I know, I totally got it wrong. Ebert said this is one of his favorite films, and he watches it every Thanksgiving.
It's Steve Martin's favorite film of his
and
own, and
John
it was John
Candy.
Candy's
Really?
favorite film of his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, John Hughes initially wasn't going to direct it. He was going to have someone who had directed some of his other films direct it. And then once Steve Martin signed on, he was like, I got to direct this movie.
Yeah. So he
Right.
wrote
I'm
it,
in.
produced it, directed.
Yeah.
Yeah. John
He
Hughes.
wrote it and he wasn't going to direct it.
Yeah. So he wrote it
Huh.
in 3 days. Is what he wrote it. And the original script was 125 pages, which typically a comedy is like 90, 94 pages.
Yeah.
And
There's like, no,
Go ahead,
the
Nancy.
original run time of it is like 3 hours and 40 minutes. And Steve Martin is like,
It's
this
like,
movie is too long.
Yeah, Steve Martin's like, we got to cut this down. This is a bit much. And I mean, at that time, Steve Martin was really like kind of at the height of his career, right?
Yes. Yeah. He was like,
and so
in
John
his-
Candy too, both of them.
Oh yeah.
And I love that this film, if you're a Hughes fan of all his other films, he throws a lot of nuggets in this film. A lot.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. So Kevin Bacon is in this movie.
He makes a cameo at the beginning.
And he, at the time, had just finished wrapping another John Hughes movie. She's having a baby. And when
Never heard of it.
Oh,
course
it's a
you
cute
haven't.
film. It's a cute.
It's
It came
super
out in.
cute.
It was it
Add it to
87
the
or
list.
was it
It was
87 or
right
88?
it was right after, like right around the same time
Yeah.
as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And
Okay.
when Steve Martin calls home, his wife is watching. She's having a baby.
In the
I mean,
background.
it wasn't out yet, but it was on in the background. Yeah. So there's a lot.
Also, too, in She's Having a Baby, John Candy makes a cameo in that film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he stars in this film. And then in Trains, Planes, Kevin Bacon makes a cameo, but he's the
Yeah.
star of She's Having a Baby. And you know
That's
the
so fun.
airplane scene where the airplane scene, you hear all this stuff in the background and you hear the couple arguing. The arguing in the back is the fight from She's Having a Baby that Kevin
That
Bacon
is
and
such
his
a
boyfriend-
deep cut.
I
that he was
know.
like, I'm gonna entwine.
That's kind of
these
cool.
two
Right?
movies, like so heavily. Yeah, that's super funny. I love that.
Yeah, there was a lot of like John Hughes nuggets in this film
Yeah.
from like, and there was a lot of like people in this film that went on to do like way bigger things. Like Dylan, what's his name? The guy that played. Oh God, let me pull up his name. Dylan Baker. This was his first film ever from Happiness.
Oh,
And
yeah,
he
yeah,
went-
yes. Yeah.
And that whole scene where he pulls up in the pickup and he plays the character Owen. All of the face twitches, the spitting, all of that was his own creation of the character.
That's
And
so
the
fun.
girl that played his wife in the film was trying so hard not to break during the scene. She said it was
That's
really, really
hilarious.
bad. And at the time, Steve Martin had just become a germaphobe. So John Hughes wanted a reaction to.
A real actor.
I know. So he told Dylan to lick his hand and then go to shake Steve Martin. So that reaction is like his real reaction. And then I read that the crew started busting up because Steve Martin, the minute they hit cut, he ran to the bathroom to wash his hands.
That is so
I
funny.
understand because we're in COVID.
Right?
I
COVID times now,
had a
it's hard to see
note
that.
where I was just like pre-COVID.
Well, it's like so much of
Exactly.
it, like people packed together on the plane and like getting on the
Yes.
and like all that stuff. You're like, oh, now
and
it's-
people smoking on the plane and in restaurants
God.
and stuff. It's so
Just
like
the smoking in general. I was like, I forgot how much that was a thing.
right?
Like
Yeah.
now you really like the bad guy is the only guy who smokes, and
Smoking.
it's like, because he's bad.
Yeah.
But no, like Mess around. Mess around.
So I have a
mess
question for
around.
both of you. Did you watch the original cut of the film, like the unedited version, or did you watch the edited version made
No,
for TV?
this past time I watched the edited version. Yeah.
Oh, you did.
I
So,
don't know. How would I know?
You're right. You don't know what you don't know.
the fuck scene where they dropped.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw
18
that.
Okay,
I saw that.
18 F-bombs.
I
in a
literally
minute.
wrote, I was like, so this is why Jonsey's parents would never have let her
Save
see
it. We're gonna get to that part
Yeah,
of
so
the
let's
show
get
later.
into that. Let's get into that. Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, it's pretty clear. 18 F-bombs.
but that specific scene with the car rental with Edie McClurk, who played the car rental woman, that
Love
was
that
one of the
lady.
scenes that
Yeah.
Steve Martin read and was like, yes, I want to do this film based
Yeah.
off of that
Yeah.
little bit of dialogue.
And
Can
he
you
was
believe
like,
that?
Yes.
And the scene when they're in the car and he has trouble with the seat. Yeah.
I
Okay,
love this
Brynne. Give us when you first saw this film and how old you were and all of that good stuff and your first take on this film when you first watched it.
So I was like, oh, this is going to be fine. Like, no one's going to be shocked that I saw this very young because it's such a wholesome movie. And then now I was like, rewatching it. I was like, this is not like the 18 F-bombs in 1, minute is like whatever. So
Yeah.
I saw this movie like,
Since I'm going to interrupt you really quick because I'm getting a note. Before we get into it, and since we've been talking about the F-bomb scene, should we watch it for the audience and listen so they know what we're talking about?
Yes,
Let's
please.
play that.
Yeah.
Scene was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Oh, Jean Marie,
So
you're
good.
a stiff.
I was flabbergasted.
No,
Sure you
Mom's
were.
gonna do the turkey.
I was just
Dad
like,
wants ambrosia, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows. And I'll do the crescent rolls, and you do the cranberry. You know I can't cook. Oh. Yeah. Well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble gobble. Oh, bye bye. Welcome to Marathon. May I help you?
Yes.
How may I help you?
You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile off your rosy fucking cheeks. Then you can give me a fucking automobile, a fucking Datsun, a fucking Toyota, a fucking Mustang, a fucking Buick, 4 fucking wheels and a seat.
I really don't care for the way you're speaking to me.
And I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of fucking nowhere with fucking keys to a fucking car that isn't fucking there. And I really didn't care to fucking walk down a fucking highway and across a fucking runway to get back here to have you smile at my fucking face. I want a fucking car right fucking now.
May I see your rental agreement?
I threw it away.
Boy,
Oh boy, what?
you're fucked.
Yeah.
I love
You're-
that scene.
You're
I love that
fucked.
scene. You're fucked.
She said the actress says that people constantly come up to her and ask her to say that to them.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that's
so
like
funny.
the number one thing that people.
I love it.
Yeah.
She was also the school, like the principal secretary in Ferris
In-
Bueller's Day Off. But she said that the number one thing that she gets recognized for is this, and people ask her to say "you're fucked." to them.
It is if you watch the scene and listen to the dialogue. I mean, it is really good dialogue for 1 minute.
For 1 minute,
Oh,
yeah.
It's so
And
good.
John Hughes actually had her improvise
Oh,
all
really?
that stuff on because at first she was just like holding her hand up and she was on the phone, and John Hughes is like, "No, it's more believable. You need to talk." So she just improvised it off the
And,
top
like,
of
when
her
she goes,
head.
Gobble gobble.
Gobble gobble, yeah. Just like burnt marshmallows, yeah.
I loved
Um,
it. A lot
yeah.
of laugh out loud moments in this movie, I have to say.
Yeah. You
Okay,
know,
contrary to what you were saying last night.
yeah,
but
which we
we'll
will
talk
get
about
into.
it.
But
We
before
can
that,
get into it.
we'll get into it. But before that, Brynne, give us when you first watched the film and all of that stuff.
Ooh, I probably
Yes.
saw this when I was single digits. very young. Just
Oh,
because,
really?
yeah, I'm just like, it was one of the movies that was always on in the background around Thanksgiving. And so my dad loved it. He thought it was so hilarious. My dad traveled for work a lot, so he just thought it was so relatable. And I just like have such good, warm, positive feelings about this movie. It is an angry movie, but like and we used to my dad used to say that all the time, like whenever we would get upset at each other or whatever, he'd be like, I like me. My wife
I like
likes me.
me.
My customers like me. And so we used to always say that. My dad used to like jokingly say that to us. So this film brings back like such good, heartfelt stuff for me. What about you, Tony?
Well, I watched this. The last time I watched it was probably when I was a kid. It's been that
Oh,
long.
really? Oh, wow.
And I remember watching it a lot, which we will get into later. I didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
I never understood the concept of traveling home for Thanksgiving when I watched this film younger, because we grew up Jehovah's Witness and all that. Um, but the thing I remember that I really loved about this movie, one, John Candy, because I used to love John Candy.
Amazing.
I thought he was the funniest thing ever. Um,
Funny.
yeah, and I remember when I was a kid, one of the things that I really loved is this film is so over the top with the situations they're in and so ridiculous. And I remember when I was a kid, the thing that I really liked was how silly it was. And I
Just
remember
feel like,
wanting to go and live somewhere where snow was, because I didn't
yes,
know what snow was
always.
growing in Southern California. So, like, I have very good positive memories of the film when I was younger. Like, I remember it being really silly, and I remember like this goes into the category of like Uncle Buck, The
Uncle
Volunteers, all
Buck.
of those films of John Candy's back in the 80s that I used to love. That's why I think when I was younger, this film was like just really cool to me. It was like a cool person film. Like I was
Yeah.
cool because I was watching it, type of a
This
thing.
movie ends the same as Uncle Buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tight shot on John Candy's
His
little
face. Aw.
JC.
Yeah, but this time around, watching it as an adult, I had a very different experience with it. The first,
Stress you
okay,
out?
so I'll go first, and then I'm gonna throw it to you, Brynne. But the first time I watched it, well, for the show, when the first 10 minutes, I was anxiety ridden. I was like,
Stressed.
no, this is stressing me out. I don't remember it being this stressful. What the fuck is going on? And
Thank you.
but then I started smoking pot. The stoner I got, the better the film got,
Perfect.
and the better mood I was in. Then I rewatched it again today, and I didn't have the anxiety. And then I really, really remembered what I loved about the film when I watched it the second time. And the initial shock of the first like 10 minutes of the film,
You're all
like was gone. Yeah,
so
and I was like,
tight.
oh yes, this is why I love this film.
Like I had an experience, not recently because of COVID, but one of
Yeah.
the last trips I took before for work before COVID and everything got shut down. I went to Seattle, to our Seattle office, and I got so sick. And I never
Yes.
got sick. And I'm in all these meetings and I'm just like dying. And I call my assistant
Oh,
and I'm
no.
like, hey, you have to get me on an earlier flight because I have to get out of here. Like my flight wasn't until like 8 p.m. that night. So she's like, okay, I got you on like
Yeah.
a noon flight. Go, leave now. I go, I get there. My flight, the earlier flight that she got me on, got delayed, and it was so delayed and I couldn't switch again. I couldn't get on the other flight that I ended up leaving after my
What?
original flight.
Oh no.
No.
So I like the anxiety and the stress was like a real.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is like a real thing. But I just always also in the beginning, I was like, it's so sweet. He's trying so hard, all this anxiety because he wants to get
Yeah.
home to his family.
Family.
So
Yeah.
it's nice
That
anxiety.
it was yeah, it was an interesting week watching this film. It brought back memories of my childhood, and then, which I'm going to get into with Jones later on this, but I had a lot of like resentment for not celebrating Thanksgiving when I was
I
a
was
kid.
Can I ask you a practical question?
Yeah.
Did you guys just ignore it?
Yes. Yes.
Like your mom was like, doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Yeah.
Just
Like, no,
ignore
it's
it.
like, no, it's a pagan holiday. No, we're not doing it. End of
But
story.
All
would be like,
holidays, even your own
It's
birthday.
pagan holiday.
Yes.
but
You
she would say
cannot
like,
celebrate anything other
Anything.
than Jesus.
Yeah.
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 But it would be like, okay, we have the day off and we are acknowledging that Thanksgiving is happening. We're just not partaking in it.
We are
'cause
not
that's
going
not
to
for
your
us.
family. We're not going to your grandma's. We're not hanging out with the cousins. We're not doing any of that. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking maybe it was just like business as usual.
Oh,
And your mom's
no,
just like
no.
pretending that Thanksgiving
no.
doesn't exist. But you were like aware, like very aware that everyone was on your, but it was like,
Yeah.
no, they're wrong.
Well, the
Yeah.
national holidays, I feel like, they couldn't deny it. Like literally, if you go to public school,
Yeah.
you're even if you go to private school, you're sent home.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
and you're like prepping for it in elementary school. You're learning about the Pilgrims and the Indians, even though none of that was real.
My daughter had a Thanksgiving skit today. Would your mom let you partake in that?
No, we weren't allowed to. No.
We're not
See,
allowed.
I remember the Jehovah Witness kid because like I still got to celebrate holidays, but I remember there was so much other stuff that like I couldn't participate in. So me and whatever Jehovah Witness kid in school, we always kind of like clicked because it was like we know what's happening in the rest of the world and with all of our peers. However, we don't get to partake in it in the way that other
people have to sit out.
Yeah, and that's what I remember, same thing to your point, Jonsey, is I remember being like put in a corner with the other Christian kids or even the Jewish kids in class that didn't like we were there.
So
like watching everybody make little turkeys and stuff.
I was always friends with the Jehovah Witness kid. I was always friends with the Jewish kid. I was always friends with a like random Muslim kid. Like anyone who didn't celebrate shit. We were in there together. Except I was like, I celebrate Jesus in a big way.
Right.
Like, can I ask maybe an ignorant question?
Go ahead. No, there is no ignorant questions.
There are ignorant questions for sure.
But still ask them.
Because like things like your birthday and Thanksgiving, like secular holidays.
Yeah.
So you're literally just having a meal to commemorate another meal that was happening. But the reason for that was that you just shouldn't be celebrating stuff at all. Like things should not be celebrated.
I know for Jehovah Witness, it all boiled down to it was a pagan holiday. It boiled down to Jesus didn't do it, so why should we?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? That's
how
like it really boiled down to. But before we move on to what Jonsey thought of the film, we're going to do our segment that we renamed called Name Drop. And we have a little jingle for it, so hopefully it plays.
Into it.
Ready?
Let's start. Dolly Parton. Rachel Maddow. I spend an hour with her every single day.
I once played a drinking game with
Celine Dion, Liza Minnelli. Cher. Laura Dern. I don't know her.
Who would you say is the most famous person in your phone?
My good friend Ben Affleck and his crippling addiction to back tattoos.
I have the best Lady Gaga story of all time.
Hate him, loathe her, over them, cancel it, tell me everything.
I don't know why it sounded so echoey, but we'll fix it. Anyways, so this is the part of the show where we do like our name drop, which is kind of 6 degrees of separation. But we're gonna call it name drop. So we pick a actor from the movie we're reviewing tonight, and then a movie that we're doing next week. So, Brynne, who is the actor we are picking from this film?
I mean, I feel like you have to do Kevin Bacon. If Kevin Bacon's in the movie, it's gonna be Kevin Bacon.
Exactly.
Right? That's a given.
And so our next film for next week, we're gonna pick. Maybe this is a little hint for people what film we're gonna watch, but we're gonna do Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
Right? Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. That's what we're gonna do.
So everybody at home, think about that, and we will revisit this at the end of the show and see how we do.
Yeah.
But now
with that one.
I want to get into Jonsey's opinion of the film because this is the first time she's ever heard of the film, first time she's ever watched it. She doesn't have the nostalgic goggles that Brynne and I got to see the film from this time around. So go ahead, Jonsey, give it to us.
So, I feel like in the 24 hours that I've watched the movie, my opinion has morphed
Okay.
So don't be mad at me, friends of mine from last night. I still agree, and you guys spoke to it earlier. The anxiety ridden part, all those Ben Stiller movies where like Along Came Polly. What are some of the other ones that he does where it's just so much anxiety that I'm like, no, I get why it should be funny, but you raise the level of anxiety in my personhood that I cannot enjoy this movie. So there was a lot of that last night. So yes, but then as I did laugh out loud a lot last night because I enjoy John Candy, I enjoy Steve Martin, although I do still kind of think he's a great comedian. His film career, he owes entirely to his hair.
You said this last night, and it was so inflammatory that I did not see it until this morning, and I thought, thank God I didn't see this.
So I am.
So wait, repeat that again, Jonsey. So
okay,
for the people in the back who missed it, let's see if I understand what you're saying. Based off of Steve Martin's film career, the only reason why he has had a film career is because he has white hair.
So I think that his comedy career, I love Steve Martin, Gilda Radner, early SNL. That's fucking comedy gold. I love it. Him as a film actor, I think he owes it a lot to the mop on his head and the fact that he went great early, never lost hair, and got to just play all these kind of like straight man father roles, but have that comedic genius to be able to like insert it here and there. I don't think he would have had the career he had on film.
What about The Jerk?
What about Pennies from Heaven?
Yes.
Never seen it.
Father of the Bride?
Love it.
The single guy.
The single guy.
Never seen it.
What is the other one? The man with the one red shoe? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Never seen it.
Man with two brains? Hello?
The man with two brains. Lily Tomlin.
Well, see, you're not basing your opinion off of his film.
I am basing my opinion off of my knowledge, which is what you asked me about.
So to make, I would say, an educated remark on his film career, maybe we should visit some more of Steve Martin films through your Filmspringa journey and then revisit this question later on the podcast.
I don't even want to know what you think about his banjo career, okay? Because I will not let you defame him.
He won a Grammy for his banjo career.
Banjo career is fucking on point.
Yeah.
He performed in the Grand Ole Opry. Right. Like there's no debating.
He wrote a musical.
Again, I don't debate his comedy skills. I don't debate other skills. I just wonder if, again, clearly I'm coming from an ignorant point, but that's the whole point of this podcast.
I guess so.
I'm curious to see
hot takes on this movie, and I thought I do not know Lena as a person as I thought I did.
Okay, so it did. I have to say, the more I sat on it, and I did rewatch some parts today. I was in a bad place last night when I watched it. Personal shit, it weighs on you. But I still stand by my statement of it's a lot of that Ben Stiller anxiety driven stuff where I'm like, I don't want to watch that. However, hold on, Brynne. You all know Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy, yes.
One of my favorite movies of all time. And there was a lot as I thought later on it and then rewatch scenes and that kind of thing that I was like, this was the precursor to Tommy Boy.
Yeah, you took the words. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Me too. I was going to say, Tommy Boy, it's the same. This is where it's got its inspiration from.
Correct.
That style of film.
I think Tommy Boy found a way to make it not as like that Ben Stiller anxiety stuff. Like I feel like Tommy Boy leaned a lot more into the physical comedy to kind of even it out. Maybe that's my bias, But
is so fun. How does he know we're going the wrong way? He doesn't know where we're going.
I don't know, Jonsey. I think maybe if you were stoned when you watched it initially, you wouldn't have had this reaction.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not saying
I'm
you're
surprised.
wrong.
I'm surprised by your reaction, especially to Steve Martin's film career based on one film that you've seen.
Yeah.
No, well, okay.
Two
So
films,
I know Steve Martin mostly film career, not comedy career. I worship Gilda Radner. She was my obsession from a very early age. So I know a lot of like that kind of comedy, that kind of thing. However, honestly, my Steve Martin film career is kind of basically Little Shop of Horrors and
Which John Candy made a cameo in. Do you remember?
Yes,
he
absolutely.
made the DJ.
The DJ, yeah.
I mean, I can quote the whole movie. Of
Yes,
Little
I
Shop
know
of
you
Horrors.
can. I know you can.
There's nothing wrong. I've actually I've auditioned
I was just gonna say
as
this.
Steve Martin in a black wig with drawn facial hair. That was inspired by Tony Bejarano at the time. And a sock in my pants.
Yeah, you went on an audition.
I went on an audition, totally method, for Oren, the dentist.
Yeah.
His hair wasn't white in that.
Oh,
correct.
That's right.
And
So
I liked him a lot more.
How do you explain that?
So you have.
I liked him a lot more.
So you don't like people with white hair, is what you're really saying.
No, I'm just saying, like, as I saw this and I remembered Father of the Bride, I was like, I don't know if he would have had a movie career if he was like balding or didn't go great early and all that kind of stuff.
He also had an incredible stand-up career.
And I think
That's what I'm
comedy,
saying. I don't.
But his comedy bleeds.
is
No,
there.
his comedy bleeds into his film career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to say that. To kind of different to put those two things different, because I think his comedy, he wouldn't have a film career if he didn't have his comedy career first. I think.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also clearly, as we've established, cannot speak to his film career that much.
Did you know, like, he departed from the comedy kind of film when he did Pennies from Heaven with Bernadette Peters, and the critics hated him in it.
Hated him.
As a serious actor. They did not care for it. They wanted him to go back to doing comedy.
Very tough for comics.
But then, Jonsey, you'll know this.
Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, like they all kind of go through that time where they're like, I want to do something serious. As a theater actress, I've done it. Yeah. Where I'm going to do Doubt a Parable. I'm going to do other random things that like make people go, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, it's what's interesting, and Jonsey, maybe you can add in on this, is if you read Steve Martin's plays that he wrote, they're way different than what you would see him do in a film.
Yes.
Especially with the Picasso play, and then what was the other one that they did at the Old Globe here in San Diego?
I almost saw it at the Old Globe.
Meteor? I think it was
called the night the meteor hit, or
something like that. I gotta look
something like that.
Yeah.
But both of those shows, and even he did.
He wrote Shop Girl.
Yes, Shop Girl was such a good film. He was good in that.
Yes.
I liked him.
Again, not saying the man does not have an overwhelming amount of talent.
Yeah.
That is sort of what you said, though. That is like
no. I said I think his film career has a lot to do with the mop on his head.
Well, I disagree with that.
Silver
we'll
Fox,
agree to disagree
wholeheartedly.
That's what this whole podcast is: different opinions.
You're welcome.
Tony and I usually have the same opinion. And
I can't wait till the day me and Brynne disagree.
That's the point of this podcast.
Well, I can't wait for the day me and Brynne are like, what? I don't know you anymore, Brynne. You're not the same person.
Friendship was built on lies.
Right? But
I eagerly await this day.
Interesting fact, since we do record this podcast out of San Diego in California, Steve Martin did Bright Star, the musical, premiered here in San Diego at the Old Globe. And then his other show, Mercury, the Mercury one, premiered here at the Old Globe too. Yeah. And they did the production of Picasso at the, what is it?
I got to see that.
Wasn't
Picasso
it good?
the Pianaggio. Yes.
At the Globe. I saw
This
the same
was back
production.
in the
So
day when
good.
your brother hooked me up with tickets.
It was a good show.
I mean, it was the like, you wait forever. You may not get to see this show tickets, but I still was
Got
like,
to
yes.
see it.
And it was a phenomenal
It was
show.
really good. They did a great
I
job
love it.
with it.
It's one of my favorite scripts too.
Did you know when it comes to this film that the original actor that John Hughes approached to play Neil was Tom Hanks, and Dal was supposed to be John Travolta, but Paramount refused to put John Travolta in the film because at the time he was box office poison. No, he was considered box office poison. At the time.
Like Saturday
Same
Night
thing.
Fever too. Yeah. They're like,
because he was a Scientologist.
Yeah. What did you, Jonesy? What did you think of the chemistry between John Candy and Steve Martin in this film? I did.
Loved it. Like that's the thing where like as I thought, like there were several laugh out loud moments in this film where I just was like, God, these guys are just great comedic actors. And also they're great comedic actors that understand and play off each other well. So even though there were parts of the movie where I was just like cringing because my anxiety was at sky high level, I could still laugh out loud. And that's why I think like as it sat with me more, I really appreciated the movie more because these guys are just phenomenal comedic actors.
Yeah, the one thing I appreciated was that John Hughes didn't direct them as playing caricatures. It was like them, but a hyper version of them.
Yeah.
And when you
which
watch
was
the
clear.
film, when you watch
It
the
is
film, it is two specific types of people. One, you have Neil, who is uptight, complains about everything, a whiner, and then you have Del, who is a go with the flow, nice guy. But it's two different types of people put in the same situation, and you kind of see how each reacts to the same situation at the same time.
And
which I thought
Steve
was
Martin
really
said that John Candy is just like that character in real life, like genuine, honest, but also has sort of like a heartbrokenness.
I know, I read that and it made me so sad.
That was the part that like really made it not enjoyable for me was I could recognize Steve Martin in his character and John Candy in his character. And so it was almost a little bit too real where, especially with John Candy having passed and watching it that way.
Interesting.
Like, I don't want to see, you don't always want to necessarily see the sad part of the clown. You know what I mean?
I think that was one of the parts of the film that I really, really enjoyed. And that made the film was that.
It makes it real.
That's what I.
But it also makes it
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Well, so the original movie ended with Del following Neil all the way home, and Neil being like, "Get away from me!" And then John Hughes rewrote it because he's like, "We want them both to have an inherent sort of goodness in them where Del realized that Neil's trying to get rid of him. So he's the good guy by walking away. And then Neil realizes what's really happening. And he's a good guy by saying, yeah, come on.
Yeah, but Dale also stole his credit card, which to me feels like a very...
No.
Yes, he did. He says to him, I stole your credit card when the car is on fire.
Oh, when the car was on fire.
Wait, no, I thought they switched credit cards because that's
at the hotel.
When they're in the hotel. You see, you see.
The credit cards do get switched at the hotel.
They do. You see the card be laying down, and Steve Martin character grabs it, and there's a shot where he pulls it towards him, and it says Del's name on it, Del Griffin.
Hey, if you are watching or listening, please reach out to us. What's our email address?
It's filmspringa@gmail.com.
No, Filmspringa podcast.
There you go, filmspringapodcast@gmail.com.
Filmspringa podcast. Or put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments on our YouTube.
Put it in the comments on our YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment and say you dum-dums. This is what happened. Just
so
watch this movie.
before we get into the Jonsey's parents' opinion on this, I have a really quick question for you guys. If you had to pick who you're gonna be in this film, would you be a John? Would you be a Dell, or would you be a Neil? Personality-wise, when it comes to traveling, especially.
I don't want to admit mine.
I know who you are already.
I'm
You're a
Dell.
Nell. You're a Dell? I would think you're a Nell. Or Neil, sorry.
Neil. Really?
Now I'm thinking now Jodie Foster film.
I was like, Tay.
That's the one reference she gets is now.
So strange. I will never understand you.
I know.
I don't know why I got to see what movies I saw.
Oh my God. So which one would you be, Jonsey?
I think I would be a Dale, but you think I would be a Neil?
Maybe a cross between both. I think I would definitely be a Dell.
You know who I actually would be?
Who?
I would be the lady at the airport in the fuck you scene.
You would.
That's who I would be.
What about you, Brynne?
I don't know. I think it really depends on the situation. If I was with my daughter, I would probably be a Neil.
Yes.
I'd be like, well, we're getting home. Because sometimes I can feel myself getting like that. But if I could have a few drinks, not that I'm an alcoholic or that I need it to relax, but because when I travel for work and stuff and I don't have the kid, I'm really easy breezy.
You're easy breezy.
I'm like, put me on the next flight. I don't care. I'll have a drink. I'll hang out.
You're fine.
I was going to say, I've heard stories about when you traveled on the road for comedy. And you went along with a lot of situations. I was shocked. Where you just were with your comedy tour partner, who is your best friend. You just were like, okay, this is what we're doing. And that was shocking at times.
Well, sometimes you just got to go, there's nothing you can do. Just go with the punches, because no matter what you do, you can't change the situation. So I want to know, Jonsey.
Wait. You didn't answer your own question.
I did. I said I did. I said I would be Adele.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, Jonsey, what would Mom and Pop Jonsey think of this film? First, we're gonna go Mom and Pop back then. Then I want to know what Jonsey would have thought of the film back as a child when you were still in the religion, because we know what you thought of it now. So go ahead.
So Mom and Pop Jones, right away. So actually, Steve Martin was one of Mom and Pop Jones' favorite people. That's why I got to see some things, and I do remember like them watching Steve Martin comedy specials, and like me coming out into the living room and being like, "Go to bed." So it was stuff that they were like, "We appreciate, but it's not for kids." So, and I think that's why I got to like always know and see Little Shop of Horrors and stuff like that from a young age. Like they determined like, okay, well that's kid acceptable. But
a giant evil plant that eats everybody. Yeah, that's acceptable.
Abusive relationships.
Yeah, abusive relationships. So her arms in a sling. She has a black eye.
I have to give Mom and Pop Jones credit where they recognized I was a little theater geek and they let me be a theater geek. So that's what that was. They didn't get everything right. They got that right. So anyway, moving on. I don't want to give them too much credit. Because
that's a whole nother podcast right there.
That is a different podcast.
Yes.
How our parents fucked us
up. So what parts of the film would they have a major problem with?
So literally the F-bomb scene would have been an immediate no-go. All the smoking in the film, like literally it was a bit of a shock to me how much smoking there was in the film. And like how much, it wasn't necessarily glamorized, but it was kind of glamorized. And if it wasn't glamorized, it was kind of glossed over. All of that would have been a major no-go. I think that if those scenes had been cut, I would have been able to watch this movie as a kid.
It's not inherently like sexual, or this is definitely not horny.
No.
it didn't go out.
Well,
The horny
and
meter
it's-
didn't go off, Brynne?
My horny meter was at negative.
Yes.
Negative.
Okay, so
Negative
Brynne,
40.
your horny meter, which also I think that leads us to a new segment.
Well,
May
not
I
yet.
segue?
First, I want to go to, since we're
Oh,
talking
okay.
about the horny
I won't
meter,
segue.
there is a scene in the movie that is iconic that everybody knows. It's
Those
the
aren't
pillow
pillows.
scene,
Yeah,
which I
those
think
aren't
we
pillows.
have. Can we play that? Yeah, let's see it because this is iconic.
Belle. Why did you kiss my ear? Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
It makes me laugh.
It makes me laugh. Even afterwards, they were like, "Hey, what did you think of the Bears game and all that?" and I know some people go, "Oh, that's homophobic," but you got to think of the time the film came out. These two characters,
Yes.
the way they were brought up, it wasn't homophobic. They're just reacting in a way that they were brought up. You know what I mean? To react that way when there is an intimate, not sexual, an intimate thing with another man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with someone that you
to
are not
me,
attracted
it just
to. Yeah.
made me laugh every time I see it. I'm just
It's
like,
also
"Two
two
pillows."
comedic geniuses tiptoeing the line appropriately.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I felt like they knew what year they were in. They knew what other things might be out there, and they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's
Tiptoeing.
hilarious. I love that part. But we are gonna do now another segment we usually do in the show that renamed it. This is where we pick a drink, a cocktail, and some food
And
item
or
to pair the movie with. But we're gonna call it. Renamed it. This is Grace. Get me a stinger, and here is our little
Dry martini.
Oui, monsieur.
Wait. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily. Shake it over ice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
It's a drink. I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Grace, give me a stinger.
All right. So, yes, this is where we pick a cocktail and maybe a food, little munchies to go with the film. Brynne, what would you pick for this film?
So I would pick. I feel like a good Midwestern beer.
Oh, really?
Like a good Midwestern sort of like. Do they have IPAs in the Midwest? No, like an 80s sort of beer.
Pabst.
Like a Pabst. Yeah, like Pabst. And then I want Thanksgiving type food when I eat this. Like one of those sandwiches that has like turkey and stuffing and cranberry.
The
sauce in it.
Starbucks leftover Thanksgiving
The
sandwich.
leftover Thanksgiving sandwich.
Yeah.
Yes, like that. Yeah.
What about you, Jonsey?
So, going off of the hotel scene after, they have to use their watches to get a room.
Yeah.
I would say a Long Island iced tea because it's literally like you could make that out of hotel drinks.
Yeah.
That's and then you buy a Coca-Cola from the machine in the corner.
Yeah. Well,
and then
isn't it what? No, the scene where they have the little miniature alcohol bottles, right?
Yeah. Well, they're not mixing them. They're just going. They're like, would you like to go to Mexico? Would you like to go to Jamaica? They're going one at a time. But I feel like mix them all together. Yeah. Make you a Long Island iced tea.
What food would you eat with it?
And then again, I gotta go Thanksgiving, so I feel like you're gonna eat leftover cold green bean casserole.
Oh, not heated up, not a little warm.
No, you're like drunk. You're already drunk from your Long Island iced tea, and you're just like, "What's in the fridge?
And
Leftovers," and you're like.
You're gonna get the dads the next day, and you're at that point where you're like, "Fuck it, who cares?"
Yes.
I think
so that's my mix.
I think for me, I would do tequila and Doritos because that's what Steve Martin's character Neil says. He shows up the tequila and then the Doritos bag. That would be mine.
A visit to Mexico.
Yeah,
Isn't that what
exactly.
they call it?
A visit to
I'm not being
Mexico.
racist. That's what they call it.
Doritos and tequila. Visit to Mexico.
I love it.
Oh man. Okay, let's see
Okay.
if we can figure out our name drop segment. 6 degrees. Did anybody figure it out? Did any of you? Did we?
I have
chance
it.
to? Oh, of course.
Of course you do.
Brynne.
You're the only reason why we keep doing this segment.
God.
It gives me anxiety.
Jeez. Okay, go ahead. Let's see how you did this.
So Kevin Bacon was in this movie. So Kevin Bacon was in Picture Perfect with Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston was in The Object of My Affections with Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd was in one of those dumb superhero movies with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, Iron Man. He was in Endgame.
Civil
and she
War
was in-
Endgame.
yeah.
Endgame, yes.
Yeah.
That was easy. I mean, I could have probably.
And yet we didn't do it.
I know, because you know why, Jonsey? Jonsey, it's because we know Brynne's going to
suck.
get it. Yeah. I'm not
It's
giving Brynne the credit. You're like, no, we suck. Bottom line,
I don't put forth as much effort.
I just go, I know Brynne's going to do it. She always does. Let her do it.
I'm sad to hear it causes her anxiety.
I know. But I did want to, like Jonsey had kind of tried segmenting before, segueing. We're going to do a new segment. So this, every episode, we're going to let you know whether this is a date movie. Like, since Brynne is now single on the town girl.
Out. I mean, I'm quarantined,
Yeah.
but like very online active.
Yeah. So if you were going on a first date, Brynne, would this be a movie you would go on a first date?
100%. I would want to drink like half a drink too many and laugh and see if they laugh. This would be a good tester. Lena last night would not have passed my date test.
No.
I would have been like, we cannot date anymore.
I would have been like, I'm going to go get more popcorn and then never come back.
And never come back. Yeah, this would be a great date movie. Yeah.
Just to be clear, I was also in a real bad mood last night, you guys. So sometimes, you just see
that shouldn't impair your taste in movies. No. Jonsey, okay. So I'm going to pose the same question to you, but with a twist. If there were two people that were very religious, would this be a religious first date movie you would go on?
No. They would be so upset about the F-bombs, the smoking.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I have to say, if this was like the TNT airing of this movie, yes.
The AMC version.
Edited.
Yes, like the TV PG-13, like they played it at the holidays. They edited out the F-bomb scene. They've like abbreviated the smoking scene to where it's
what's that production company? Shelley
Duvall's company. What is it?
Company? If this was a Cannon
Tail. Actually, there are production companies that edit secular movies to make them acceptable for.
Shame on them.
I would have to.
Shelley Duvall doesn't do that.
No, I would have to agree with Brynne on this. This would be a date movie where I would test to see if the person laughs, to gauge their sense of humor, is what I would do with this film.
I do think this is still a movie that if you are a kid like myself, where you didn't see movies, you should add this to your repertoire.
Which we're going to get to now, because it is time for us to grade the film, give you our grades for this film. So did we write down what we thought we were going to give it last time? Did anybody write it down? What we gave it?
Did you write it down for us?
Did you, Jonsey? Please say yes.
You're
She's
frozen.
looking. She's like, oh.
She's looking. I think I gave it an A.
I think
I did not write it down.
I gave it an A too, if I remember right. Okay, so we're gonna give the grades now, rewatching this film after so many years, and Jonsey watching it for the first time. Brynne, take those nostalgic glasses off.
Taking my nostalgic goggles off.
And what is your grade this week? A?
Is an A. Is an
Okay,
A.
okay.
You laugh. And I felt fun and good about myself.
Good. Jonsey, grade. Seeing it for the very first time ever, what would you give it?
B+.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Would
Like
this
I
get
said,
would this get
it
a
grew on
stamp? Would this get a stamp in the Filmspringa passport? That's a no.
I feel like, okay, here's would be my disclaimer. If you were a 90s kid and saw Tommy Boy,
Yeah.
you don't need to see this.
But I would say no, still see it because Tommy Boy wouldn't be Tommy Boy without this film.
Agreed. However, Ben Stiller movies wouldn't be Ben Stiller movies without this film either. And I think we could have always done without those kind of ones where he made himself, where it was just literally an anxiety-ridden fest for an hour and a half.
I would give this film probably, I'm gonna demote it to a solid B+ due to the fact. Hold on, due to the fact that it gave me anxiety for the first 10 minutes.
Okay, all
There
right.
you
That's
go.
about it.
There
That's
you
fair.
go.
But I'm not saying it's a bad film like somebody else, and I would definitely give it a stamp in the Filmspringa thing, saying it is a necessity due to the fact that there is not a lot of films that are centered around Thanksgiving, and seeing that it's Turkey Day in a few days.
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the very few films that really is centered around Thanksgiving. And the travel and all that drama that goes into
exactly.
it, so.
Yes.
And that is my favorite holiday. So I do love that part. I just don't love the Ben Stiller-esque anxiety-ridden.
I say get stoned and rewatch.
Yes, because he makes those movies.
Okay. Should we talk about the next film?
Yes, the next film we are picking for next week. This is one of my favorite films, and it's my pick for next week. And we're getting out of the 80s and 90s. We're going into the early 2000s with a rom-com. We're going to go to rom-com. It is Love and Other Disasters. 2006's Love and Other Disasters. So, Jonsey, just based off of the movie poster and the name, what do you think this film is about?
Yeah.
Do you know do you know the actress that's the lead, right?
Brittany Murphy. Yes, I do.
Late,
great. Really think she was an underrated comedy.
I do too.
Comedic actress. I think she could have done phenomenal things. I think she would have been the next Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
I really think she had a lot to offer the world, and it's a fucking shame that she's not
which
here
we
anymore.
will unwrap in this next episode.
Yes.
But what do you think the film's about?
So I'm looking right now at the okay, well, my phone didn't want to show you that. But so I've never heard of this film before now, and I have to say it looks like, if I can speak from my church self, not my Lena self.
Yes, your church self.
Okay, so my church self says it's about a slut because she has to cross her legs.
Holy moly!
And she's having to try to cover her coochie. And she's looking off to the side like she's ashamed because of her sin. So like I said, this was my church self talking about it. not my Lena self.
No, this is old church Lena way back in the day.
Yeah.
So what is it about though? What do you think it's about? Her being a slut?
A slut and her ways.
Wow, this is going to be an interesting episode next week. So
and clearly they're disastrous because she says it in the title. And maybe if she had followed Jesus and closed her legs and not in that way, she needed to actually close her legs in a real way.
It wouldn't be a disaster.
Not a crisscrossy slutty way.
Not crisscross applesauce.
Disastrously slutty life.
Yeah.
Her disastrously slutty life.
Maybe it wouldn't have been so disastrous.
That's the stage play version.
That's my autobiography.
What is it? Slutty Disastrous
My
Life.
Disastrously Slutty Life by Brynne
Yes.
and
Close your legs to married
Close
men.
your legs to married men. That's a
Thank
Bravo
you.
offshoot we'll do.
Jesus Christ.
If you ever hear random Roni or row anything, guilty. Charged.
Guilty. What, Brynne?
We should do our ratings. Our grades.
Yes.
Love and other snatches.
Love and Other Disasters. I give it an A++. This is one of my favorite films.
I'm gonna give it an A.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Write those down, Jonesy. Write it now. Write them down.
Yeah, just write it down.
So we don't forget.
Wait,
about it.
A++ and an A.
Yes.
All right.
But you guys, that is our show, everybody. We got through it. So next week, we are going to do Love and Other Disasters. So go watch the film and then come back. You can watch us live Thursdays, 8 o'clock on...
Except
next week, we're not going to be live. It's going to be pre-recorded. But anyways, you can still watch the film. Leave your comments below in the comments. Let us know what you think of the film and all of that good stuff. You can follow us on Instagram, we're Filmspringa. You can follow us on Facebook, we're Filmspringa. And you can email us at filmspringapodcast@gmail.com. And you can listen to the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. Make sure you subscribe and leave us a good rating. Tell your friends about it. And we will see you next week. And that is it for us. Bye, everybody.
Subscribe on our YouTube.
Yes, subscribe YouTube.